Assalamualaikum, I'm Tasmin Jahan Mithu. I'm a first year student of BSc in prosthetics and orthotics. Today we will exploring about gait cycle, phases of gait, angulation, momentum and ground reaction force. As body moves forward, one limb serves as a mobile source of support, but the other advances itself to a new support site. Then limb reverse their role again. This is called gait cycle. Now we are gonna learn about phases of gait. Phases of gait, stance phase and swing phase. In stance phase, there are 5 subdivisions: initial contact, loading response, mid-stance, terminal stance and pre-swing. And in swing phase, there are initial swing, mid-swing and terminal swing. In initial contact, the angulation of the hip is 14.9 degree flexion, knee is 3.9 degree flexion and ankle is 8.1 degree plantar flexion. In loading response, the hip is 7.1 degree flexion, knee is 1.5 degree flexion and the ankle is 24 degree plantar flexion. In mid-stance, the hip is 1.3 degree flexion, knee is 1.2 degree flexion and the ankle is 11.2 degree plantar flexion. In terminal stance, the hip is 4.7 degree extension, knee is 11.2 degree flexion and the ankle is 3.2 degree plantar flexion. In pre-swing, the hip is 0.5 degree flexion, knee is 53.9 degree flexion and the ankle is 10.6 degree plantar flexion. In initial swing, the hip is 3.6 degree flexion, knee is 62 degree flexion and the ankle is 15.6 degree plantar flexion. In mid-swing, the hip is 22.4 degree flexion, the knee is 35.1 degree flexion and the ankle is 14.2 degree plantar flexion. And the last one is terminal swing. In terminal swing, the hip is 19.3 degree flexion, knee is 10.3 degree flexion and the ankle is 14.2 degree plantar flexion. In this part of the video, we will know about ground reaction force and how the ground reaction force create moment. During initial contact, the ground reaction force passes the ankle posteriorly, create plantar flexion and anticlockwise movement, and the ground reaction force passes the knee anteriorly, create extension and clockwise movement, and passes the hip anteriorly, create flexion and clockwise movement. During loading response, the ground reaction force passes the ankle posteriorly, the knee posteriorly and the hip anteriorly, create plantar flexion, flexion and flexion, and anticlockwise movement and clockwise movement. During mid-stance, the ground reaction force passes the ankle anteriorly, the knee anteriorly and the hip posteriorly, create dorsiflexion, extension and extension. During terminal stance, the ground reaction force passes the ankle anteriorly and create dorsiflexion and clockwise movement, and passes the knee anteriorly and create extension and clockwise movement, and passes the hip posteriorly and create extension and anticlockwise movement. And the last one is pre-swing. During pre-swing, the ground reaction force passes the ankle anteriorly, the knee posteriorly and the hip posteriorly, same as the terminal stance. And we know that during swing phase there won't be any ground reaction force because the foot doesn't contact with the ground. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.